And turning to weather here, beautiful spring weather in the forecast for us. Temperatures are going to be climbing into next week, though. Let's get right into it. Starting with a look at the current conditions here across Kern County. Temperatures in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and even some spots close to 80 degrees. China Lake coming in at 78. China Lake is likely going to be hitting 80 degrees by the time we get to Sunday. So through the night tonight, pretty typical 30s, 40s, even a couple of spots staying in the 50s. Nothing out of the ordinary there tonight. Highs tomorrow, little step up. Temperatures nice 70s over in the desert, 50s and 60s through our mountain areas, and a beautiful 70 degrees here in Bakersfield. Calm conditions here in the valley, but we are still tracking some gusty winds elsewhere. In fact, some winds as high as about 40 miles per hour over in the desert. So that's going to put a little damper on the weekend over in eastern Kern, but that goes away pretty quickly. By Sunday, those winds are out of the forecast, and we are looking at some very warm temperatures. Again, very likely seeing 80s this weekend for our desert communities, 60s and 70s for the rest of us on Sunday, and we're looking at even warmer weather as we head through the forecast. This is Monday's weather pattern. High pressure built in. That's going to bring us likely the warmest weather that we've had so far this year. So let's get right into it. Looking at tomorrow, still some clouds in the sky. 70 degrees, though. Very comfortable day. Moderate air quality. No concerns for the weather tomorrow. Sunday, even nicer at 74. And then we get warm. I think by 80 here in the valley, we are into the I think by Monday, we are into the 80s here in the valley. 86 degrees on Tuesday. That is very likely the warmest day of the year so far. 83 on Wednesday, and then actually cooling down a bit. Signs pointing towards temperatures dropping back as we head toward the end of next week. Mountain communities here, 60s, 70s, and 80s for the next 3 days for Lake Isabella, peaking at about 85 degrees. Tehachapi, Fraser Park looking at temperatures climbing well into the 70s early next week.
Trump today speaking on immigration, defending his actions and calling the recently deported migrants a group of thugs. The fight between the Trump administration and a federal judge escalating. Federal District Court Judge James Boasberg holding a hearing to consider extending his temporary restraining order on deporting non-citizens under the Alien Enemies Act. This comes after the judge called the Department of Justice's explanations about the deportations of hundreds of Venezuelans woefully insufficient in a sharply worded order, criticizing the DOJ's attempt to stonewall the court. President Trump invoked an 18th century wartime act to deport hundreds of migrants, mostly Venezuelans, to a notorious prison in El Salvador, known for housing gang members. During a news conference at the White House with Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, ABC's Karen Travers asked the president about this.
Mr. President, do you think you have the authority, the power to round up people, deport them, and then you're under no obligation to a court to show the evidence against them?
Well, that's what the law says, and that's what our country needs, because unfortunately, they allowed millions of people to come into our country, totally unvetted, totally unchecked.
The White House ignoring the judge's verbal directive from the bench to turn the planes around and bring the migrants back to the U.S. The White House claiming the judge's written order holds more weight than the verbal order. The president later issued a rare rebuke by Supreme Court Chief Justice John Roberts after calling for Judge Boasberg's impeachment. The White House not providing details on who was deported. But attorneys for Jersey Reyes Barrios, a professional soccer player from Venezuela with no criminal record, says he was sent to El Salvador. They say the government accused him of being a gang member because of tattoos similar to ones affiliated with the gang Tren de Aragua. The White House argues his social media indicates he's a member. His family members saying the tattoos were inspired by soccer and he is not affiliated with a gang. When questioned about allegations of sending people to El Salvador with no criminal history or gang affiliations, Trump said they went through a strong vetting process, will continue vetting them, and doesn't want to make that kind of mistake. Jacqueline Lee, ABC News, Los Angeles.
Tesla's Cybertruck is being recalled for an issue that could potentially put other cars on the road at risk. I'm Dan Grossman with the latest on Elon Musk's car brand. Elon Musk's Tesla has been taking financial hits, literal hits, and now a massive safety recall, potentially putting other cars on the road at risk. Federal regulators are recalling nearly all of Cybertrucks to fix an issue with windshield trim panels that can fly off. This recall, involving bad adhesive, is the largest yet in the model's short and flawed history.
We shouldn't be surprised because there have been 8 recalls of the of this Cybertruck since January of last year.
Scott Baradell is the CEO of Idea Grove, a branding and marketing firm.
It's leading to the feeling that maybe there's someone asleep at the switch.
But mechanical problems are not the only obstacle Tesla is facing.
You can't separate the politics of your audience from your product.
Musk has been the face of widespread cuts to government agencies and workers.
It's definitely hurting Tesla. There's no question. There's just no benefit whatsoever to Tesla that what Elon Musk is doing.
Musk has been trying to stop the slide, holding an all-hands meeting with Tesla employees, staging a recent Tesla showcase at the White House.
This man is a great patriot, and you should cherish him.
To the U.S. Secretary of Commerce urging people to buy his stock.
Buy Tesla. It's unbelievable that this guy's stock is this cheap. It'll never be this cheap again.
Still, Tesla's stock has tumbled 35% over the past year, and used Teslas are losing their value quicker. And people have been attacking Tesla dealerships and cars themselves, which President Trump calls domestic terrorism.
It speaks to the larger level of polarization and anger that a lot of people have as it relates to politics in this country right now.
The recall from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration covers around 46,000 vehicles and all that were manufactured since November of 2023. Dan Grisman, Scripps News Group, Denver.
EU leaders are continuing with a strategy they call peace through strength, supporting Ukraine militarily while also supporting Kyiv's desire for a 30-day unconditional ceasefire. But there was one holdout. There are 27 nations in the European Union, but one of them, Hungary, said that it would not sign the document. It's opposed to EU military support going to Ukraine in general, a position that puts it much closer to Russia than it does the rest of the European countries, and this time